I think we can all agree that Netflix is not necessarily known for making high quality cinema. I mean, we had The Irishman. Let me know in the comments if there's any like Netflix movies that you consider to be really, really good. But most people would tell you that Netflix is a studio that spends a lot of money making pretty crappy movies. However, in 2025, a pretty divided year when it comes to political stuff and just all sorts of things. A divided year for cinema. We have this new Knives Out movie, which is a franchise movie. It's a studio movie with a $200 million budget. For all intents and purposes, this should be a shallow cash grab. It should be another one of those sequels that really isn't so good at all. And yet, Wake Up Dead Man is one of the most thoughtful meditations on religion that I've seen in a long time. Now, I have a couple of things that I wanted to talk about the movie that I wrote down here. The first was just the visuals. It's a movie that has some really strong and unique visuals. And this is something that's really exciting for me. It seems like right now, in 2025, we're in an era of cinema that's actually really experimental. And what I mean by that is it feels like we're in the 70s again from a visual perspective. Not from like a depth or tone perspective, because we still have a lot of problems with that in Hollywood right now. But everyone wants their movies to look like an indie movie. And because of that, they're trying a lot of cool, unique visuals. Like, for instance, Wake Up Dead Man has like a really cool dolly zoom. It's got some split diopters. It's got a look to it that's very experimental. Whereas I feel like in the earlier 2000s, or maybe not in the earlier 2000s, but in earlier years, like since 2020, there's sort of just been like a flat line where people just kind of do the same thing that they know makes money and they don't try new things, especially when it comes to studio movies. Again, this is a studio movie produced by Netflix, and yet it's got a lot of really cool, unique camera movements especially, and the visuals are just beautiful. Like, the set design is very contrived. The set design is very reminiscent of the first Knives Out, but it looks amazing. Like, it's got a really, really cool look to it, and they really pulled out all the stops when it came to visual flair. So I just feel like it's a really exciting time for cinema, that everyone's trying these cool indie techniques. They're trying new things. Like, there's this cool sequence that's very reminiscent of David Lynch, with like the flashing lights, and it's kind of like a visionary sort of sequence. There's a lot of this really, really cool stuff that goes on in there visually. The second thing, which was really cool, is that for me, I feel like it was actually a more compelling mystery than the first Knives Out. I haven't seen Glass Onion. I'll probably check it out, but I've heard from most people that it's not really very good. The first Knives Out obviously is like, it's got a really, really cool mystery to it. That's kind of the whole point. That's the charm of the movie. It's got a compelling mystery that you don't know what's going to happen next. But it's also just your classic whodunit. Like, it just is an Agatha Christie mystery. Whereas this movie, which of course this is too, there's references to like murder mystery books and stuff, but I found this mystery to be more compelling, mainly because the original Knives Out is like basically like a clue. Like, at one point someone says the house is like a clue board. Like, it's very much just like a clue murder mystery that you'd expect. It basically all takes place in one house, etc. And so because of that, it's a little bit more bland. Like, it's kind of expected. Of course, the twists and turns are well done, but it's still like, it's not as like intriguing to me. Whereas Wake Up Dead Man is set in like a setting that you just wouldn't expect, right? Like, being at a church and all and having these religious themes just makes it totally different. And it was a mystery that I was more on board with. Like, I actually didn't know what was happening until the very end, and I felt like it was really, really well done, especially compared to the first Knives Out. And it was way more ambitious, I feel like the best word to describe is just interesting. Like, it was very, very intriguing and interesting, and on a larger scale, which I really appreciated. The final thing, which is my favorite part, of course, is the religious themes that go on in the movie. Now, the movie centers around a church, a Catholic parish, and the main character is a priest who's played by Josh O'Connor. And there's all these super cool elements of him wrestling with his own internal struggle with faith, wanting to be a good priest, versus Benoit Blanc, who's our secondary main character, who is obviously not a religious person at all. And there's some dialogue in here that you just totally wouldn't expect from a Netflix movie in 2025. And it's just crazy. I was sitting in the theater like, I'm seriously sitting in a full theater right now, a couple nights ago, with a bunch of people from all different walks of life, and we're all appreciating a movie that is so overtly pro-religion, that is so overtly, like, into the fact that people are religious. Like, even coming from Rian Johnson, who's not a religious person, coming from a non-religious perspective, it still is, like, really, really into the fact that people are religious, and it's very, very positive towards religion and people who aren't in that kind of faith working together. And that's what I thought was really cool, is that it brings up a lot of themes of the things that are just integral about being a human being. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But there's a lot of visual cues here that I thought were really cool. resurrectional imagery is huge. Like, for instance, the title card at the very end of the film is covered in flowers, which is your typical resurrectional imagery from a Christian, worldview. There's all sorts of themes of resurrection. I mean, it's called Wake Up Dead Man. I'm not going to spoil anything, but yeah, there's a lot of themes of resurrection, which is literally the most important thing about the Christian faith. There's a lot of visual cues here. I mean, it takes place inside a church, so there's a lot of, like, props and themes that are really religious. At the center of the film is an exaltation of the things that make us human, right? And the things that make us human that we can only explain with religion. That's the thing, is there's an interplay here between different faiths, and it's an exaltation of the things that bind us all together, because we all have a desire for justice. We all have a love for other people around us. We all can understand what empathy is, right? These are the things that we can't really explain. They're just part of being a human being. And so that's why we turn to faith. That's why we turn to religion, to give us an explanation for why these things exist. And even from the perspective of someone who's not a Christian at all, like the director of this movie and the character of Benoit Blanc, those things can still be appreciated. For me, I'm a very religious person. I'm an Orthodox Christian. And so it's so refreshing to see these themes come out in cinema, because for me, cinema is all about glorifying God and all about glorifying the beautiful things that He gave us, the talents and the abilities that He gave us to love other people. And these themes came out so profoundly, and they were crystallized so well in this movie. It was really, really cool to see. Benoit Blanc has what he calls a Damascus moment in here. And again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but St. Paul in the Bible has a road to Damascus moment where he's on the road to Damascus and he sees a vision of Jesus and it blinds him, right? It's a moment, it's an epiphany, it's an aha moment that changes his entire perspective. This is a concept that's explored throughout the film. Benoit Blanc has a moment like this, and he says it's not religious, but at its core, the Damascus moment that he has where he realizes something really important about humanity and about our desire to be forgiven, it's a super important acknowledgement that confession and forgiveness for the wrong things that we have done are integral parts of being a human being. The film is cynical towards religion throughout, and sometimes it's even pretty disrespectful to Christianity, but it's interesting because it's sort of disrespectful in a respectful way, right? Because we have characters who don't really care, who don't really give a crap about all of this religious stuff, who call it storytelling, they call it a farce, and yet the film overall has a tone that's so respectful toward it. And so I really, really appreciate the approach that the film took towards this, right? It points out the things that we can agree on, but more than that, it points out the things that nobody can really explain, right? Like the concept of resurrection, of a man rising from the dead, that's literally at the core of the Christian faith. Nobody can explain that, and that's the entire point of Christianity. And Rian Johnson clearly has a respect for that concept. He really likes the idea that there's an entire religion based on an impossibility. Again, this story is a story that charts an impossible murder. That's the entire point, is that it's an impossible murder. And in the same way, there's a parallel that's drawn from this murder mystery that seems impossible, that shouldn't be able to be cracked, and a religion that's based on a total impossibility. And that's one of the most profound things that I've seen in the theaters all year. So, it's a 4 out of 5 star movie for me. It's a super tight script. It's unique, it's funny, and it has some really important truths that cut so much deeper than I expected. I'm really excited for what else Rian Johnson has for us, and honestly for the future of Netflix. If in 2025 Netflix can make movies like this, I think we're going somewhere really, really good. There are 2 roads on either side of me that are very loud, and it's so cold. All right, see you in the next one.